Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Michael here, Pokey-Oz. Just a quick video today, and I've said that before, but they always seem to turn out to be quite long. But I do plan on making this one a little bit quick. Before I get into it, I finally picked up, well not finally, but I bit the bullet and got some 151 ETBs. Picked up a couple, plan on probably getting a few more as well, English that is, of course. English Scarlet and Violet 151. I think the price was pretty good on them. Got them for $73 Australian, which, what does that equate to in US? Divide it by 1.6 or 1.65, whatever the current exchange rate is. But yeah, $73 Australian, which I think's pretty damn reasonable considering, you know, most retail stores like EB Games here in Australia has them at $99. So I was happy with that. I'll probably pick up a few more if I can get them for that price and add them to the collection. Anyway, what I'm talking about today is, so here's a little bit of a conundrum, and I want to have a quick discussion about it. There's so many Pokemon card sets coming out. Like, we've got 6 English sets this year. We had 5 the year before. We had 6 the year before. This is including holiday sets and main sets. It begs the question, eventually we're just going to have this massive abundance of Pokemon card sets. I haven't even counted what we're up to now, but we must be up to 80, 90, 100. I haven't added them up, but we must be up to so many Pokemon card sets. And if we keep releasing 5 and 6 a year, in another 5 years, there's another 25 to 30 sets out. In another 10 years, there's another 50 to 60 sets out. So all of a sudden we get this massive abundance of Pokemon card sets. And we need to ask ourselves, particularly if we're in it for, I suppose, a long-term investment, like we're not planning on flipping it in a year or 2 years. There's a lot of people that go, oh, my plan's to hold this 5 or 10 years. I see it and hear it all the time. And that's a good plan. Like, it's a long-term plan. It's one of the most simplest forms of investing. Buy something and hold it for a period of time, get some capital appreciation, and then sell it because it's been in the market for long enough and the market's revalued it. Like, simplest form of investing. Good plan. But you got to ask yourself, in another 5 or 10 years, if there's going to be another 50 to 60 Pokemon card sets out, what's going to make something memorable? What's going to make it worth money? Because if you rewind the clock back, right, and we look at the early sets of Pokemon that are worth lots of money as a sealed product, and the singles are worth lots of money, because they're memorable, and they're memorable for a few reasons. They're memorable because there's some nostalgia attached to them. They're memorable because the cards are worth good money. They're memorable because we grew up trading them and playing the game. And so there's memorable sets. Like, we can all think of heaps of memorable sets. Obviously Base Set and Fossil and Jungle and Team Rocket. And then obviously the Gym era, the Neo era. Things like Skyridge and Aquapolis, like low printed, but the last Wizard of the Coast set. So there's this value attachment attached to those sets, for lack of a better sentence. And then even when we think of memorable sets from EX era, like EX Deoxys for argument's sake, or EX Team Rocket Returns, which has, obviously EX Deoxys has the Rayquaza Gold Star in it, which is just an absolute banger of a card and worth big dollars in a PSA 10. Diamond and Pearl era, we got things like Stormfront with the remake of the Charizard from base set artwork. We move into Platinum series, you got things like Supreme Victors with another hard-hitting Charizard. Heart Gold, Soul Silver era, I don't know, no real sets stand out to me there, but maybe Undaunted, because you've got those cool double cards, plus you've got, I think you've got an Umbreon Prime card inside there, and maybe an Espeon Prime card as well. Call of Legends, a single set that stands out by itself. Black and White era, you've got things like Plasma Storm, because you've got a secret rare Blastoise and Charizard, which are worth big dollars in PSA 10. You've got Dragons Exalted, which is a dragon-based set from Black and White era, and Rayquaza as a chase card. Moving forward to XY, Flashfire stands out again because it's this heavy Charizard-based set with some big hitting PSA 10s. Moving forward even further into Sun and Moon era, things like Team Up or Cosmic Eclipse, you know, they've just got such hard-hitting cards inside them, and Team Up was short printed. So you get what I mean by there's a lot of memorable sets out there. And I'm going to get to this towards the end of the video, but what's going to make Sword and Shield block and Scarlet and Violet block memorable? what sets inside there are going to be memorable. Now, contrary to memorable, there's also a lot of forgettable sets. Even if we go back to EX era, and I know these boxes are super rare and they're still worth lots of money, but things like EX Hidden Legends or EX Legend Maker, there was no big hitting chase cards inside them, so the sealed booster box price is almost probably half or a third of the cost of something like an EX Deoxys or an EX Team Rocket Returns booster box. So that speaks volumes because these sets were printed within a year or 18 months of each other. And for one to be 2 or 3 times the value, and we're not talking Evolving Skies compared to Chilling Reign, like 150 versus 450, 3 times the value. We're talking like 20 grand to 60 grand, 3 times the value. So we start getting bigger and bigger discrepancies as things get older and add more value. Diamond and Pearl era, forgettable sets. I'm not throwing stones at them, but things like, Great Encounters, no real hits inside there. Platinum series, Rising Rivals, again, not a great deal of hits inside there. Black and White, Emerging Powers, same thing, sort of forgettable. XY, Steam Siege, I mean, the Gardevoir and Volcanion secret rares are worth what? 30, 40 bucks raw, 50 bucks maybe at the absolute most. Then Sun and Moon, we had, Crimson Invasion and Forbidden Light, which were just, for lack of a better word, forgettable sets. So I guess what I'm getting at, when you're thinking about investing in something, and by all means, buy each individual booster box for your collection. Go for it. If that's what you like to do and you want to build up a booster box collection or an Elite Trainer box collection, go for it. Buy one of each. But if you're going to park more dollars into something or bigger dollars into something, have a good, hard think about what is going to make it memorable. Because I can guarantee you the memorable sets are worth money. And keeping in mind, like I said at the start of the video, they're not slowing down. There's more and more sets coming out. So eventually, when we've got 150 sets or 200 Pokemon card sets, what's going to make the one that you've invested your money in memorable? And I suppose to answer that question, look at Sword and Shield set. Already, I can tell you, the most memorable set from Sword and Shield, there'll be 2 of them, in my opinion, maybe 3. There'll be Evo Skies will be the most memorable set from Sword and Shield because it has some absolute banger chase cards in it. Probably Crown Zenith will be the second most memorable for a couple of reasons. 1, last English set ever to have yellow borders, and 2, a belting Galarian Gallery, which is just a heap of fun to open. Then 3rd, maybe something like a Lost Origin, simply because you'll have that heavy hitting Giratina, and you've got the Trainer Gallery inside there. So I guess if you're going to park big dollars into Sword and Shield block, I'd be going with those 3 sets if it was my money. Scarlet and Violet. Okay, what have we had so far? We've had base set. They always perform pretty well, but they also always seem to be pretty forgettable. Base set always focuses predominantly on the new Pokemon that come out, and it's like, well, what heavy hits do we have inside there? We don't have many heavy hitters from Scarlet and Violet base. Paldea Evolved, good looking set, good depth within the cards, as in there's lots of illustration rares and special illustration rares, and they're all good looking cards. Is there something memorable about the set though? Is it just going to get lost? And this is what I'm getting at. Are they just going to get lost in this big mixture of 200 Pokemon card sets in the future? What's going to make someone want to buy that off you in the future? What's going to make someone want to pay 2 grand or 5 grand or 10 grand for that box in 10 years time, like something like Plasma Storm? Plasma Storm's worth that because it's rare and it's got one hell of a Charizard inside it. So ask yourself those questions. What else have we had from Paldea Evolved? We've had obviously Obsidian Flames, which then you get other equations that come into mix, like pull rates, like that secret or that illustration rare Charizard. The secret illustration rare Charizard is too easy to pull. Is that going to make it forgettable, especially if it's not worth any money? Because if it's too easy to pull, it's probably not going to be worth too much on the secondary market as a single. Then we've obviously had 151. Now this should be memorable. Like, it is the first set that solely focuses on that original 151 in a long time. And then we've now had the upcoming Paradox Rift coming out, the 5th Scarlet and Violet set. Again, what's going to be memorable about that set? What is it? Another one that springs to mind though is from Sword and Shield, Fusion Strike. That's somewhat memorable. Like, it's a Ghost Psychic based set. they always seem to do well. EX Holland Phantoms from back in the day, for argument's sake. So just, that's my advice. And I don't know how long this video has gone for, because I feel like I've been ranting at the camera for a good 10 minutes, and it was supposed to be a shorter video. But please, if you're going to park big amounts of money, first do your research. But the biggest question you should ask yourself is, what's going to make that set memorable? Because if it's memorable, fast forwarding 15 to 20 years, like we have from the EX era, a box worth 3 times more, the difference between 20 grand and 60 grand 3 times more is a massive difference between $150 and $450 3 times more. That 3 times more, based on a few things like nostalgia and an epic pull out of the set, and a few other things, pull rates or whatever it might be, that's going to make a big difference. So if you're going to park big dollars in, think about what's going to make what you're spending your money on memorable. I think that's rant over. I'm Michael. This is Pokey Oz. Catch you next time.